The shuttle bay of the Imperial cruiser was a cavern of polished metal and stark light, but for the lone human standing at its center, it felt like a cage. He wore the practical, durable garb of a freelance scout, a stark contrast to the gleaming armor of the royal guards who formed two impassive lines. They had not taken his sidearm, a gesture that was either profound respect or a calculated test. He knew it was the former. They had seen what he could do. He had come to the system mapping gravitational anomalies, a quiet job for a man who preferred the silent company of stars. The distress signal had been a raw, desperate thing, cutting through the scientific data. He found the Imperial yacht crippled, its hull breached, life pods scattered and dying. And amid the debris, the flagship of a notorious Corsair fleet, its scanners no doubt fixed on the richest prize. He did not consider the politics. He saw a ship in need. His own vessel, the Wayfarer, was small but built like a bunker, with engines that could outrun a comet. He had drawn the Corsair's fire, a furious, dancing distraction, while using his superior maneuverability to track her in the escape pods. The fighting had been fierce, a storm of plasma and kinetic shot. He remembered the exact moment. The Corsair's cannon, aligned for a killing blow on a pod drifting helplessly. A shot from his own overloaded coil rifle had severed the cannon's mount, the feedback nearly frying his systems. He had gotten them all, every single pod, before vanishing into a microjump. He thought that was the end. He was wrong. A week later, an Imperial cruiser had found him, and its request for docking was unmistakably in order. A door hissed open at the far end of the bay. The Emperor entered, and the air seemed to solidify around him. He was an imposing figure. His age shone only in the gravity of his bearing and the silver threading his dark hair. His robes were deep blue, edged with a subtle silver that caught the light. He walked without guards, stopping a few paces from the human. "Scout," the Emperor said, his voice a low rumble that filled the space. "You have a name." "I do," the human replied, his tone respectful but unyielding. "It is given by my family. I would keep it to myself, if it pleases the court." A faint, approving glint touched the Emperor's eyes. "It does. Names have power. You may call me sire. It is title enough for this conversation." He clasped his hands behind his back. "My daughter is alive because of you. The surgeons say the pod's life support had minutes remaining. You saved not only her, but the heirs of 3 noble houses and 47 souls of my court. You asked for nothing. You took no payment. You simply left. The job was done, sire." "The job," the Emperor repeated slowly. "To you, it was a job. To my empire, it is a cosmic event. You have toppled a Corsair lord who plagued our borders for a decade. You have secured a bloodline that stretches back 10,000 years. And you have given a gift to a father that can never be repaid." The human felt a cold knot form in his stomach. He had seen this pattern before, in a dozen cultures. A debt of honor, too large to quantify, demanded a settlement of equal magnitude. "I require no repayment. Seeing them safe was enough. For you, not for us." The Emperor took a step closer. "Honor is the currency of empires, human. My advisors, my nobles, they speak of titles, of planets, of stellarium wealth. These are trinkets. They would insult the scale of the deed. To clear a debt this profound, the settlement must be profound." The human remained silent, waiting. "My daughter is my most precious treasure. Her safety is the Empire's greatest concern. You have proven, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that you are capable of ensuring that safety when all others failed. You have the resolve of a warrior and the conscience of a protector. Therefore, I have decided." The Emperor's gaze was unwavering, a sovereign's decree etched in stone. "The debt will be settled, and my daughter's future secured through union. You will marry the princess. The words hung in the sterile air. The human's mind, usually so quick in a crisis, stalled. This was not a negotiation. It was a tectonic plate shifting beneath his feet. "Sire," he said, choosing each word with care, "that is not a reward. It is a sentence. For her. I am a wanderer. My home is my ship. I have no palace manners, no political wisdom. I would make a poor consort. You think I offer this lightly?" The emperor's voice softened, a father's fatigue bleeding through. "I have spent days observing the recordings, speaking with the survivors. The princess herself insisted on describing your actions. There was a light in her eyes when she spoke of your ship's maneuver, the precision of your shot. She sees not a scout, but the man who stared into the void and did not blink. She has agreed." The human blinked. "Agreed. This is not a demand for subservience," the emperor continued. "It is a demand for change. Our empire is strong, but it grows rigid. We need a new perspective, a strength that does not come from a throne, but from out there." He gestured to the bay's vast port, to the stars beyond. "You would not be a ornament. You would be her shield spouse, her protector, her advisor in all matters beyond our borders. You would teach us your resilience, your human stubbornness. And she would be my chain," the human said, the words escaping before he could cage them. "No," the emperor corrected. "She would be your anchor, and you would be her sail. Together, you would not just unite two beings, you would unite two philosophies. You give us your strength, we give you a purpose greater than your next charted star." The human looked away, his eyes tracing the lines of the imperial crest on the wall. He thought of his ship, of the endless, quiet freedom. He thought of a life of ceremony, of soft words and hard politics. It was a kind of death. But then he thought of the distress signal, the raw fear in it. He had answered that call without a second thought because it was the right thing to do. What was being asked of him now was, in the emperor's strange imperial logic, also the right thing. It was a sacrifice, but not a meaningless one. It was a trade, his solitude for the stability of billions, his freedom for a chance to steer an ancient empire toward a stronger future. He saw the strategic truth the emperor was weaving. A human, fearless and outside their rigid hierarchies, married to the heart of the empire. It would send a shockwave through the noble houses, a clear message that merit now stood beside bloodline. It would inspire the common people, and it would forge an alliance with a species known for its tenacity. He thought of the princess. He had only seen her in the med bay, pale but smiling, thanking him with a gravity that matched her father's. She had not seemed like a trophy. She had seemed like a person who understood the weight of a crown and the rarity of a selfless act. The human took a deep breath, the air tasting of recycled metal and decision. He met the emperor's gaze. "I will not be a puppet," he stated. "I would break any man who tried to make you one," the emperor replied. "I will need my ship and time to be myself. The wayfarer will be docked in the royal hangar, and you will have all the time in the stars." With her? The human gave a slow, single nod. It was not a bow. It was an agreement between equals. "Then I accept. Not the title, not the empire, but the duty and the partnership." For the first time, the emperor's stern expression truly softened, relief and something like respect breaking through. "That is all I ask." Later, in a quiet garden terrace under a simulated twilight, the human stood with the princess. She was taller than he remembered, her bearing regal, but her eyes holding a curious, open intelligence. "My father can be very direct," she said, her voice melodic. "He is an emperor," the human replied. "Directness is a luxury he can afford." She smiled. He told me you tried to refuse. For my sake, it was a logical concern. And now? He looked at her, really looked. He saw not a prize, but a partner in a daunting new mission. Now I see the strategy and the opportunity. But I am still a scout. I will be gone for months at a time, and I will have an empire to help run, she said. But when you return, you will tell me of the nebulae you saw, and I will tell you of the court intrigues you happily missed. And together, we will find a way to make both worlds better. He offered his hand, a human gesture. She looked at it, then placed her own in his, not with fragility, but with a firm, steady grip. It is a strange foundation for a unity, he said. It is a foundation built on a selfless act, she corrected. That is stronger than any political arrangement. As they stood there, hand in hand under the false stars, the human felt the old restlessness quiet, not extinguished, but channeled. The boundless void was still there, calling. But now, he realized he would not be drifting through it alone. He would be exploring it for a purpose, and returning to a place that, against all odds, might just become a home. He had rescued a princess, and in doing so, had been drafted to help rescue an empire from its own past. It was, he decided, the most human thing he had ever done.